So I want to say sophomore year. It was like very beginning of sophomore year. Me and Zach Woods, actually, our freshman year, when that whole scandal was going on, we like wanted to check it out, and we started going. We went to a couple of random GBMs, and honestly, I was kind of bored the whole time. But we just kind of kept like. We went to a couple more, and I was like, okay, like maybe this would be good. At the time, I didn't really know what I like wanted to major in, but I knew it was something like either politics or law school, something like that. So I was like, oh, maybe Senate would be a good way to get involved. So once I figured that out, it was like beginning of sophomore year, and I think Zach had already had some kind of position. I think he was like some kind of senator or something, and he was like, you should, they're like doing, like people, I don't know, it's not an internship, but people are interns. And he's like, university life needs interns, so you should like apply to do that. So I applied and I got it, and honestly, I don't know if the commissioner at the time or if it was just, maybe it was newer and like they didn't know what they were doing, but I didn't really feel like I did anything. So I like stopped interning after a while. And then, so that was the end of my sophomore year. And then junior year, they did the judicial panel, and I applied to just be like a regular associate justice, and I got it, which was cool. And so that was my whole year last year. And I don't know, since I feel like it was pretty new, it was kind of just a bunch of, I don't even know, just a bunch of like random things, and we kind of were all like didn't know what we were doing. But I did know that I wanted to stay in it and see, because like maybe I was thinking maybe this year, since it'll be like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, since the first year we didn't really know what was going on, it was like, okay, maybe the second year like we'll have like a better grip on things. And Walter, who's now the Chief Justice, but back then, last year we were both Associate Justices, he's like, well, I'm running for Chief Justice and you should like try and be the Clerk of Courts. And Zach was like, then we could go to the Senate meetings and, you know, I can like guide you and help you like do whatever you need to do. So I was like, okay, cool. And so I applied for that, and that's where I am now. I guess when I first started going, I didn't really know what Senate was about. Just I feel like a lot of people who aren't in Senate don't really even know, and maybe some people in Senate don't even really know. But I feel like the Senate this year, it seems a lot more organized. Maybe just because there is less like drama and stuff going on from when I first got into Senate. But it just seems like they, especially exec, has a lot better grip on things. I feel like it might just be also, like I said, because I'm more acquainted with Senate, so I know like the inner workings and stuff. But all the commissioners seem to be like doing what they're supposed to do and like avidly trying to like make this campus a better place for everyone, like the period project, all that stuff. That's really impressive. It's actually pretty revolutionary that they were able to do that. So I feel like it's just improving as it goes on. I feel like last year with the judicial panel, not only was the Chief Justice, he just had like a lot going on, so it was hard for him to like put all of his efforts into Senate. But I feel like in addition to that, last year, because it was so new, a lot of us really didn't know what we were doing. And also I feel like it is different than Senate, but it's helpful going into being Clerk of Courts or any kind of justice with some Senate knowledge. And I feel like last year there wasn't really any guidelines for that. We kind of just like did what we were told. But I feel like this year it seems to be a lot more organized with it, maybe because it is not as new. But I don't know, I would say personally, first semester I seemed to be super busy with judicial panel, and I was starting to get like more well acquainted with Senate. Just like all the resolutions that I had to write up, that was like a process. Like I had no idea how to format any of those, and then in no time I was able to do that. The work on the Constitution, that wasn't us, but like just being able to be a part of the changes. And then since I had to be one of the people that was on election reform, I think that actually was the coolest, because I actually had a say. Like I felt like I had a say in what, like the changes for elections and Senate in general. And I actually felt like a good thing was that like everyone's opinions were listened to and valued. And I just feel like I'm starting to see more of that like in Senate. And it's really cool. When it was formed, it's a lot bigger this year. I believe last year we only had, well, there was the Chief Justice, then we had, I believe, 6 or 7 just regular associate justices, and then throughout the semester we picked one of us to be the executive justice, and he was a senior and he graduated, so positions, he obviously isn't doing that anymore. But a lot of what we did, we kind of like looked through rules and procedures, just made like edits as we saw fit. I'm sure you know Walter like printed out the whole entire rules and procedures and like butchered it and just totally like any little error he fixed. So that's kind of like what we did, but he obviously like took that upon himself to do in the extreme. Anything that really got passed like throughout from the Senate body that we needed to like discuss, like rule changes or anything like that in the rules and procedures we would talk about. But I didn't really know like what we did until elections came. So I guess during elections, I think last year, like the most important thing for me is I like would ask questions during the debates, and I thought that was really cool. And then, yeah, I guess we kind of just like oversaw elections, and we didn't really have anyone come who like got impeached or resigned or anything like that. Like we didn't have to deal with any of that last year. There were no like conduct and discipline issues, but we have had a couple this year. So we kind of just go through and use our judgment if something's brought to us. Yeah, I guess this year as clerk of courts, it's a lot more time consuming. Because last year I would just show up to the panel meetings that were once a week, and then obviously when elections came around, we were a little busier. But this year, you know, you have to be in the office, you have to kind of be acquainted with people in Senate, you have to do panel things, and then when elections comes around, you're just kind of running around everywhere. But I guess this year, like I said, a lot of it, I'm just the liaison, so I just, any questions that anyone on exec has that they need to ask Walter and vice versa, like I'd be that middle person. This year I'm way busier with just, not anymore, it was a lot first semester when we changed like everything in the rules and procedures, but this year more it's just, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like petty work, but like just like I said, making those rule changes, bringing anything to the Senate body that we have like an issue with, anything like that. Yeah, and I don't have a vote, so I can't like vote on anything, but just overseeing a lot of things and just being that middle person, I guess, is what I do. Up until this year, I think just Senate meetings sometimes really intimidate me because I feel like everyone in there seems to know what they're doing, at least like the commissioners and exec. And let's say something's brought to the Senate body from the panel and I had to be that spokesperson, and if there was like one question that someone had for me and I didn't know the answer to, because maybe it was a question more for Walter or something, I still had to like come up with an answer because no one likes to hear, oh, I don't know. So that was kind of hard. And then just trying to balance, like I said at the beginning of the year, with all of the like rule changes and just all that stuff. It really was super time consuming on top of like school and then applying for law school, and just, I think a lot of it is just time management, but you get the hang of it. Said, since the panel's still really new, especially if Walter wants to do Chief Justice again, I think it's going to be stronger, have like a stronger base. Say for next year, like I said, since it's still relatively new, like I was starting to say, if Walter is the Executive Justice again, I think it can only get better. I think he's done a really good job of overseeing everything. And I know a lot, like vast majority I think there's only a couple of seniors. Actually, it might be half and half. I don't know. But the underclassmen that are on the panel now are super like engaged, and they seem like they genuinely like want to help and are like want to be involved. So I think as they get older, that's just going to become better. And then with any newer people, I think, like we said, we kind of have a better grip on like what needs to be done within the panel. So I think we'll hire on, I don't know if hire is the right word, but we'll like have the people that come in the panel later will like they'll know what to do, I feel, because we have a better grip like as execs on what's going on. I would definitely say first, if you're interested in the judicial panel, you should definitely read the rules and procedures are a part of it, and you should kind of have some basic knowledge of what Senate is and what goes on in Senate, especially for my position. You can't go in like not knowing anything, because that would just be impossible to do a good job. Definitely talk to people in Senate and like befriend them. It's not really scary once you kind of put yourself out there. And then I guess for Senate, I don't know, like I said, networking and getting to know people, listening to your commissioner or execs, I guess, because they really do know what's best.